The Rocky Mountains, a majestic and unforgiving landscape. In 1873, a group of 22 prospectors, led by Alfred Packer, dared to venture into this wild expanse. They were driven by dreams of gold and a thirst for adventure. Their destination, the booming mining town of Breckenridge, Colorado. Winter was fast approaching, but the allure of riches spurred them onward. The journey was arduous from the start. Snow piled high, burying their path. Temperatures plummeted, biting at any exposed skin. Food dwindled. Fear began to gnaw at the edges of their hope. The mountains, once a symbol of opportunity, now loomed large, a menacing presence. Amidst the growing despair, a glimmer of hope appeared. Chief Ouray, a wise leader of the Ute tribe, crossed paths with the desperate prospectors. He warned them of the perils of winter travel, urging them to wait until spring. Packer, headstrong and determined, dismissed the chief's advice. He convinced 5 men to press on with him: George Noon, Israel Swan, James Humphrey, Frank Miller, and Shannon Wilson Bell. The rest of the group decided to heed the chief's warning, choosing survival over a gamble with fate. Weeks turned into months. Spring arrived, but the 6 men who had ventured into the white wilderness did not. The mountains, it seemed, had swallowed them whole. Then, on April 16, 1874, a lone figure stumbled out of the mountains and into the settlement of Los Pinos. It was Alfred Packer. He was alive. But where were his companions? Packer's tale was one of hardship and tragedy. He told of dwindling supplies, of his companions succumbing one by one to the brutal grip of winter. He claimed they had deserted him, leaving him to fend for himself. Yet something about Packer's demeanor didn't sit right. Charles Adams, a government official, harbored deep suspicions. Packer, though claiming to be destitute, seemed to have an ample supply of money, and was in possession of his companions' belongings. The whispers started, whispers of cannibalism, of a desperate act committed in the face of starvation. Under interrogation, Packer cracked. He confessed to a gruesome tale. He claimed Swan had died first, followed by Humphrey. Then, Miller and Noon were killed by Bell in a fit of madness. Finally, Packer said he was forced to kill Bell in self-defense. To survive, he had resorted to the unthinkable. He had eaten the flesh of his dead companions. The Rocky Mountains held their secrets close, but the truth, like a stubborn spring, had a way of bubbling to the surface. A search party, dispatched to investigate Packer's claims, made a chilling discovery. They found the bodies of the 5 missing prospectors, not scattered along the trail as Packer had claimed, but clustered together in a single campsite. The bodies told a different story than the one Packer had spun. Swan's remains showed signs of a struggle, his skull crushed by a blunt object. The evidence contradicted Packer's claims of self-defense and painted a picture of a more sinister truth. 9 years later, fate dealt another hand. Packer, living under an assumed name in Wyoming, was discovered and arrested. Faced with the undeniable evidence, he offered a new confession. This time, he claimed that he had left the campsite and returned to find Bell had murdered the others. He then killed Bell in self-defense and, desperate to survive, consumed their flesh. It was a story riddled with inconsistencies, a desperate attempt to escape the hangman's noose. In 1883, the weight of evidence proved too heavy to bear. Alfred Packer was convicted of murdering Israel Swan and sentenced to hang. However, fate, it seemed, was not yet finished toying with Alfred Packer. His sentence was overturned in 1885 due to a legal technicality, and the charge reduced to manslaughter. He was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Packer, the Colorado cannibal, became a macabre folk legend. Some saw him as a monster, a cold-blooded killer who had feasted on his companions. Others viewed him as a tragic figure, a desperate man driven to unimaginable acts in the face of certain death. In 1901, after serving 18 years, Packer was granted parole, thanks in part to a campaign by the Denver Post. He lived out his remaining days as a guard for the same newspaper that had championed his release. He died in 1907, at the age of 65, maintaining his innocence until the very end. Alfred Packer's story continues to fascinate and horrify. Did he succumb to madness in the unforgiving wilderness, or was he a cunning killer who used the harsh conditions to mask his crimes? The mountains hold their secrets close, and the truth, like the bones of those lost souls, remains buried beneath layers of speculation and time.